Welcome back. This is Jennifer, and as always, I am happy you're here. Today, I'm sharing a really fun and simple card design that I haven't shared before. I call this a box pop card. Basically, when you take the card out of the envelope, the front pops up, kind of forming a box that you see there on the bottom, giving lots of dimension. The best thing about this is you have no specialty dies that are needed, and you can use whatever products you have on hand. I'll have 3 different variations of this technique to demonstrate ways you can do it. And at the end, I will show you a peek at some cards I have coming up on my next video, where I share tips for doing layering stencils. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Okay, let's get started with today's Pop Box cards. This first one is a pretty basic design that you can use in a variety of ways. Let's start by doing the background. I'm using the new Pretty Pink Posh layered candle stencils. I just love these for creating quick, colorful birthday backgrounds. I'll be using it here, and I'll be using it in my video that's coming up too. We'll start by inking up the note card itself. Notice we don't need to do candles along the bottom of the note card because I'm going to place that box there later on. So I have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding white note card, and I'll just put masking tape along the bottom to remind myself I don't need to ink down there. Later that box will be positioned there, and I'll show you how to make that in a moment. I'm placing my note card onto the Brutus Monroe stick and stamp mat. I find this great to use with stencils because you can stick your card to it and it won't move, so you don't have to worry about getting the back inky. You can also lay the stencil over it, and now the stick will hold the stencil around the card so it won't shift. Now I'm going to apply a variety of dye inks over this. You could use whatever inks you prefer to use, dye inks, pigment inks, distress ink, whatever you want. I just went for the colors that I liked most. This one happens to be from Simon Says Stamp. They're saturated inks. I chose to use an Altenew small blending brush to apply the inks over it. You can use whatever inking tool you prefer. If you want to save time, you could do all the candles the same color, but I thought it'd be fun if each row was a different color. I'm applying a light amount of ink this time. This is just the background of the candles. I want it to be kind of soft because we're going to put another layer over it for details, and I'll make that darker. Now on to stencil 2. I'll line this up and I'll put the same colors on top but a heavier amount, just so it'll be a little bit darker and we'll have tone on tone candles. Now, one thing I want to mention about this sticky mat is I found that the stick holds up great. I can clean it. They tell you how to clean it on the website. I usually just wipe it with a baby cloth. The only thing I do not recommend is taping onto the sticky portion, which you really shouldn't have to do. If you do tape onto the sticky portion, you may pull away some of the sticky, which you don't want to do. But this sticky mat should last you a long time. You can wash it and it'll keep the stick. Okay, now I'm coming in with the third stencil, which is the flame, and I'm applying Hero Arts Butterbar Yellow over all of the flames. Another thing about this mat is you'll see that I'll pick it up and take it into my stamping tool. It's helpful for that too. So you'll be seeing it in a lot of videos. There is now a MISTI sticky mat also. It's clear, and you'll be seeing me use that. Both are great products. Okay, now I'm using a smaller detail blending brush from Altenew to apply a little bit of orange to the bottom of the flame openings, just to give it the look of dimension. Okay, once I'm done with that, I can clean off my stencils and we have our colorful background. I can carefully remove this from the sticky mat. I like to flip it over and pull it off that way. And then we can remove our masking tape also. Next, we can create that pop-up box feature on the bottom of our card. This is a basic size or dimension that works well with a lot of cards, so I thought I'd start with it first. I have a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 inches tall and 5 inches wide. We're going to put 4 score lines on this at 3/4 of an inch, 1 3/4 inch, 3 1/4 inches, and 4 1/4 inches. Now this is flexible where you put these, but I'm just trying to make it simple by doing a few different versions today. You can write down those measurements at the top or take a screenshot so you can make your own. I used heavyweight cardstock for this element, but you could use like a lighter weight 80-pound if you want to. Okay, so now I'm reinforcing each of those score lines, just folding them all in the same direction. And you'll see that this kind of curls up to kind of form a box where the 2 ends meet in the middle. On the front of this box, we need to do a row of candles so the front of our card looks continuous. So that will be the front there, that biggest area in the middle. So I'm masking above and below that. Now you could ink above it if you want to, but I'm just going to leave that white. So now I'm lining up one of the rows of the candles in that open area. I'll do the solid candles, then I'll do the detail of the candles, and then the flames of the candles, just like before. But this time we're just doing one row. I'm removing the masking tape by pulling it back on itself, and now we can assemble the card. On the bottom flap, I'm putting a strong adhesive. I like to use a strong liquid adhesive so I can wiggle it around and get it just right. And I'm placing that flap right up against the bottom edge of our card. I'll show you it from the side here so you can get a better look. I want to press that into place. This will get our box started on the bottom of the card. I do like it on the bottom of the card, but you could put it higher up if you prefer. Now I'm putting adhesive on the other flap at the other end, and I'll wrap that around and glue it to the front of the card, making sure the end of this flap matches up with the end of the flap that's already glued down. So you see those two ends meet up right there in the middle, and we have that little box that is formed at the bottom of our card. This will flatten and go into our envelope nicely, and when you take it out, it'll pop up, creating a ton of dimension. Now the background of this card is pretty busy. So the reason I did this technique is so that the element we put on the front will pop up a lot, making it stand out against that busy background. But it also allows you to look from the side and see more of that background, which I didn't want to cover up too much. So this is a great technique for cards like this. Now let's create that element that pops up. We'll use a stamp set and die set for this. The stamp set I'm using is the new Pretty Pink Posh Build a Cupcake. Cute images that you can use together to create a cupcake, but I'll just be using the birthday wishes sentiment there on the bottom. I'm also using the new adorable Pretty Pink Posh Party Cake die set. Off screen, I created a matted piece that is overall 2.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. It's white cardstock with a thin black mat. Now I'll be using my MISTI stamping tool to stamp birthday wishes on it. I have the die here that I'm just going to place there so I can get my positioning right for the sentiment. And then I'll place the sentiment in place and stamp that with black ink. Now to add the cake pieces onto this, I have a trick for you. I take a negative space die cut. So that's the birthday cake's negative space that usually ends up in the trash. And I'm taping it onto our piece where I want the cake to go. This die cuts all the pieces of the cake into different individual pieces. This will help me to arrange the pieces together and make sure it's centered and straight. So the negative space is taped down. Now it's time to create the die cuts. I thought it'd be easiest if I used double-sided tape on the back of my cardstock before I die cut the pieces. I have this little container that you see over on the left where I keep all of my scraps of double-sided tape from Altenew. And I'm using those scraps for today's card. So I took a bunch of pieces of cardstock, put the double-sided adhesive on the back, did a bunch of die cutting, and now I'm taking those die cut pieces that have the adhesive on the back already and popping them into that negative space. So the negative space is a guide to make sure I'm keeping things straight and centered. I use silver cardstock for the cake stand and different shades of pink cardstock for all the pieces of the cake. These fit in nicely. It's kind of like a puzzle, and it really makes it easier to have that adhesive on the back before doing the die cutting. Now those adhesive sheets, there are many out there. I really like the ones from Altenew, and I keep even the smallest scraps for things like this. So after I did all of the die cut pieces, I will take off the negative space, and there we have our cake assembled. I did add little white flames and colored that with yellow and orange markers, really just to make them pop. And I did go back and add additional die cuts on top of each just for some dimension because I love that look. So now we can glue this onto our box card. So I'm putting adhesive towards the bottom of our panel here, and I'll glue that just to the front of the box. And I'm going to try to make it centered, and I'm going to make sure that I don't glue it up too high that it'll stick off the top of the card when we put it in the envelope. So you want to make sure that it doesn't go up too high when flattened. Now after I glued that in place, I decided I wanted to add some shimmer and glossy accents to the flames on my background. So I quickly took that panel off. We'll re-glue it in a moment. And I'm using my Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen to add sparkle to the flames, and then my Ranger Glossy accents to add some shine. Really easy to spread that Ranger glossy accents with the tip of the bottle, just to put a thin layer over the flames, giving them a little bit of dimension and of course the shine. Now I'm going to re-glue that panel back on once that has dried, and I feel like that adds a lot to the card to add that little bit of sparkle and shine. I wanted to mention to you all that I really like to have a matching envelope, usually with stamping on it, just to pull the card together. So on all of my envelopes today, I use the Pretty Pink Posh Birthday Scripts stamp set. I really like this set with lots of birthday greetings, and check out the coordinating die set. It cuts out all the words real close up so you can easily add it to a card. Well, I use these script greetings on the envelopes for all of my cards today. I'm also going to start mentioning at the top of the screen what color envelopes I use on each card. Okay, so when this is in the envelope, it flattens nicely, and when you take it out, that box element pops up, so the panel pops up, giving loads of dimension. It stands great on display, a simple design without requiring any specialty dies. So you can use any stamps, stencils, or die cuts for this basic design. Here's a closer look at that layered cake. Isn't that adorable? So I did build up a few die cuts on some of the pieces just to give a little bit of dimension here and there, which I think makes a big difference when that is the focal point of your card. But if you prefer, you can skip that added dimension. You can skip the sparkle and the glossy accents on the flames. Those are details I just enjoy adding to my cards. Okay, let's do another example. This time I made the entire bottom of the card pop up. It's the same overall technique, but this time the whole bottom pops up instead of just a panel floating in the middle. This one was a lot of fun to make. I use the new Pretty Pink Posh Build-A-Gift die set. This is excellent for birthday cards, Christmas cards, anything. I'm starting to make more birthday cards. You'll be seeing them in my videos lately because I need to get better about sending those types of cards out. Now I went through and did a bunch of die cutting in 2 shades of orange, 2 shades of green, and 2 shades of pool. I just used scraps from my scrap drawer. And I assembled little birthday presents. I like the look of tone on tone, so that's why I did 2 shades of each color. I did add a few extra layered die cuts to some of the pieces just for that pop of dimension. Once I had all of my presents assembled, it's time to plan out how I'm going to create this pile of boxes on the bottom of my card. Here is a trick that is super helpful when arranging die cuts. I have my MISTI sticky mat, which is see-through. On the back of it, I'm taping a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card as a reference. So everything here is sticky. So I can lay my die cuts onto it and it'll hold it in place so they won't wiggle around and be frustrating, and I can assemble all the boxes how I please. I can easily move them to different spots and try to arrange them to the best that I can. This is very helpful to me. When I'm happy with the position of each of the die cuts, I can start transferring them onto a piece of cardstock and gluing them in place. This piece is 4 1/4 inches wide, which is what I'll have on my card, and I'm just gluing each of the presents onto the bottom of this. So once I have all the presents glued down, I'll cut off the excess white cardstock, and this will give me one solid element to deal with instead of a bunch of individual die cuts. Now, there are a few different ways you can do this, but I find this to be really helpful to create this one solid piece and to use that clear MISTI sticky mat as a holding place for all my die cuts while I assemble. Next, I wanted to add a little bit of soft stamping to that white note card in the background. To do this, I used the new Pretty Pink Posh Birthday Wreath stamp set. This wreath stamp set has lots of individual small stamped images that I thought would be great to put together to create a stamped background. This time I have my Brutus Monroe sticky mat inside of my MISTI stamping tool. You can use whatever sticky mat you want. On top of it, I am placing my Tailored Expressions Clear Alignment Guide. This allows me to place my stamps wherever I want it and they won't move. The stamps kind of stick to the clear alignment guide, so I don't have to fuss with them shifting as I place them close together. Once I have all of my small images placed kind of clustered up there on the top left, I can close the door on my MISTI stamping tool, which will grab all of the stamps. Then I can remove that clear alignment guide and start stamping. The sticky mat in my MISTI stamping tool will hold that card in place, kind of floating there in the middle. So I'm stamping this with a Aqua Sky color from Concord and 9th. It's super light, so I ended up stamping it a couple times to make it a little bit darker. Now I can put the clear alignment guide back in place and go ahead and move all of my stamps to a new position. Again, that clear alignment guide is just kind of holding the stamps so they don't move on the cardstock as we kind of push each of the stamps closer together. Now this is the clear large alignment guide. The pack comes with some with grids, which are helpful also. You could also use scrap of clear acetate to do that. Okay, now it's time to create that pop-up box element. I'm making it a little bit smaller this time, but you could do the same size as the last card if you prefer. I have a piece of white cardstock that is 4 1/4 inches tall and 4 inches wide. I'll do 4 score lines, one at a 1/2 inch, 1 1/2 inches, 2 1/2 inches, and 3 1/2 inches. This will end up giving us basically a 1-inch square little box that we can put at the bottom of our card. It's a little bit shorter than the one that we created earlier. Now I have my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folded white note card that we just did that stamping on. I'm putting glue on the bottom flap of our folded box piece, and I'll glue that right up against the edge of the bottom of our card. I will also put glue on the other flap, and then we will place that on the bottom of the card, making sure the two ends of the box piece meet together right on the surface of the note card. So here you can see what it looks like. You can see those two ends meeting there in the middle. We really want to press that down and make sure that it is glued tightly onto the front of our card. Okay, so now we can add the box element to this. So on that front panel, I'll put some strong adhesive, add the box element, and check it out. Now we have all of these presents that will pop up and stand up nicely as soon as we take it out of the envelope. For a sentiment, I use the new Pretty Pink Posh Birthday Wishes script die set. I like that both words are included and you can use them together or separately. I just glued the Wishes die cut from white cardstock right onto the presents and stamped a sentiment strip that says "Let's Celebrate You" and glued that right below it. That is from an older Pretty Pink Posh Let's Party stamp set, which I'll show you later on. As you can see, this flattened nicely to go into the envelope. When you take it out, that box kind of pops up and it gives it lots of dimension and it stands up nicely on display. If you're looking for a card that is perfect to display, this is definitely it. And once again, I stamped on the flap of the matching envelope so everything would coordinate nicely. Okay, now let's step things up a bit and do 2 box elements that pop up on the bottom of the card. This tiered look really gives a lot of dimension and really is a great thing to try if you have lots of small die cuts like I'll be using here. Now let's create our box elements first. The first one is smaller. It's 4 1/4 inches tall by 3 inches wide, and I'll score at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches, and 2 1/2 inches. This is a nice small size for a box element. This will be the one that sticks out the most when the card comes out from the envelope. So I'll go ahead and fold along those lines and we're ready for our next box. This one is 4 1/4 inches tall and 5 inches wide. I'll score at 1 inch, 1 1/2 inches, 3 1/2, and 4 inches. So really all the different box elements today that I created were different heights or different dimension. It's totally up to you how much you want. These two will go together on the bottom of a card to give a ton of dimension in 2 tiers to our pop-up die cuts. Now this time I'm going to start by gluing my box elements to my note card. Then I will add everything else. So this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding note card that I created from Concord and 9th Aqua Sky cardstock. It's a beautiful color. Now this is a lighter weight cardstock, so I'm going to show you how to make it a little bit stronger in a moment. When I say lighter weight, it's 80 pound, which is great. I just usually use 110 pound or thicker or heavier for card bases, especially when we're adding this much to the front. Now I first glued down our bigger box element. You can see how the two ends met together onto the note card, just like we've done many times. Now to the front of this box element, I'll glue our smaller box element. So this gives us that 2-tier look. You can honestly add as many tiers as you want to on this. Just keep in mind that each one adds a little bit of bulk. So I think 2 is probably the most I would do so that the bulk isn't too much to fit into your envelope. All right, so there we have our 2 boxes on the front bottom of our card. Now, as I mentioned, this is a lighter weight cardstock. I want it to stand up nicely. So I'm cutting 2 pieces of white cardstock to be a little less than 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. And I'll glue one to the inside of the card where we will write our sentiment, and then one above that. So both of the panels of the note card will be stronger. This is something I do anytime I use a cardstock that is a little bit thinner. Nothing is worse than a floppy card. You don't want a card that when they open it up, it kind of flops open, or when they try to stand it up, it flops down. So this is a great way to make your lighter weight cardstock a little bit stronger and really give a more professional look. This makes a huge difference. And if you want to learn more about the weight of cardstock and what really matters, I'll link to a video up here on the top right to check out. Okay, so now let's start doing the elements that pop up with the boxes. First, we're going to do the clouds that go onto each of the box tiers. This is from a Concord and 9th Magical Days die set, which I used in my last video. I just cut a piece that is 4.25 inches wide, and that'll get glued to the bottom front box. Then I will create another that will go onto the other tier. So now we have this cloud formation that kind of pops up with those boxes. And we'll make our balloons come up from these clouds. Now the balloons I'm using are new from Pretty Pink Posh. There is the alphabet set and the number set. I'm just using the alphabet today, along with the coordinating dies. But it's fun because you can personalize the year of the birthday or the person's name if you wanted to. So off screen, I white heat embossed the letters for Happy Day on colorful cardstock scraps, and then I cut them out with the coordinating dies. Now I have thin strips of Gina K metallic silver cardstock that I'm gluing folded over so that they're double the thickness. These will act as the strings for my balloons. You can see how I do this where I just put glue on the back half of one of the strips, fold it over, make sure it's all pressed together, and that gives it more stability. And then I glue that right to the bottom of one of our balloons. And I'll do this on each of the letter balloons. By doubling up, I can be sure they won't flop over. Let's start with that top tier, the taller one. I'm gluing the cloud formation onto that panel to the front of it so it pops up with the box. And then I will glue each of the happy letter balloons to the back of that. So I put glue at the bottom of the string, and then I glued it to the back of that cloud formation so it pops up with the clouds. I use my self-closing tweezers to hold that in place as it dries. I put down the H first, then I glued in the Y, and then I filled in the letters between, and that helps me to make sure I get the spacing right and I don't run out of room or have too much room at the end. Also make sure that your balloon strings aren't too long. When this card is flattened, we don't want anything sticking up past the top of the card because that way we can be sure it'll still fit in the envelope when flattened. Now I'm adding the other cloud formation to the front of the second box, the one that pops out even more. And I created a third one that's super small that I'll just glue to the front of that for a little more dimension. On the back of that second cloud formation, I'm adding the day balloon strings, again putting glue on the front of the string and then pressing it up to the back of the cloud formation. Next, I stamped the Pretty Pink Posh Let's Party stamp set. You can see it here over on the right. I used the Celebrating You and stamped that with black ink on the bottom cloud formation. Okay, so here is the final card. Now it flattens to fit into a regular envelope, and then when you take it out, it pops up, giving loads of dimension. You can see that it stands up nicely because I put those extra supports on the inside. Now these balloons really pop up. This is a great card to put on display. So I did add some holographic star sequins. Those are from Trinity Stamps, and that just adds a bit of sparkle. So on our first 2 cards, we had 1 layer that popped up. In this one, we have 2 layers that pop up, giving even more dimension. You could do any scene for this, maybe little critters or a space scene, anything. I thought these birthday balloons were great to create a special birthday pop-up card. And remember, you can personalize them with either the recipient's name or their birthday. I do think it's important to show how this flattens and is still able to fit into a regular envelope. I think that's important, so you want to make sure that when the card is flattened, nothing sticks off the top. This is all about creating really cool looks, but not something that you need a specialty size envelope for. Okay, now before we go, I just wanted to give you a peek at the cards that I'll be showing in my next video. I really like these, and I think that these stencils will sell out pretty quickly, so I wanted to just show them in this video to give you a sneak peek. On these cards, I'll use layering stencils, but I also use the new Pretty Pink Posh Celebrate Script die. On each of these cards, I'll use this with black cardstock to really stand out against the stenciled backgrounds. Now here's the first card that will be in the next video. It's using the layered candle stencil set that I showed you earlier in this video. But this time I'll do a rainbow effect and also add some glitter sparkle to the flames. So again, I'll be sharing this in the next video, have some fun technique ideas for you, and they are super fast to create. Honestly, I was going to include these cards in this video, but it got too long, so I thought it'd be best to break it up. The next card that will be in my next video uses the new Pretty Pink Posh Layered Present Stencil, which works in the same way but creates these fun presents. I think these will be very popular because we all are looking for fun and fast ways to create birthday cards. Here's the card I created with this stencil set, and on this one I added some silver glitter to it and a few other tricks that I'll show you in that video. And then finally, we have the Pretty Pink Posh Layered Cupcake Stencils. Again, these are really easy to layer and are fast to use and can be used to create really colorful backgrounds in different ways. The example that I'll be doing with this adds a lot of different glitter, a lot of different color, but super fast to do. So stay tuned for the how-to video for these 3 cards coming very soon. In the meantime, if you're interested in any of the supplies on any of the cards from today, they are linked below in my YouTube description, but always go over to my blog. I share photos of the cards, sales opportunities, or free gifts that are available, and much more information. I will link to that here at the end along with 2 other videos that may be helpful to you. Hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you again soon with that second video, and take care.